As esports matures, we think it's time to examine an important question. Is esports better off with grassroots foundation or with developer support? What level of developer support is good or even needed for an esport to succeed? Over the years, we've seen many examples for and against this argument across many different tiers of support. Most recently, Riot Games used their years of esports experience to launch the Valorant's esports journey with the Valorant Champions Tour, and it was a success. Psyonix's Rocket League is yet another stellar example of developer support done right. Then there's Blizzard and Activision. Between Call of Duty League, Overwatch League, Hearthstone, and StarCraft, they can sometimes do more harm than good while historically putting in a similar amount of effort that Riot does. For Valve, they have domain over two of the biggest esports in the world, Counter-Strike and Dota 2, but they approach them differently. For CSGO, they are largely hands-off until needed, letting third parties like ESL, IEM, and Blast Premier run their course. But for Dota 2, an esport where the prize money is historically top-heavy due to the international, they organize the Dota 2 Pro circuit, and the results have been mixed. And on the far side of Riot, there's Nintendo, a household name that's hamstrung Super Smash Bros. Melee's esports for years through cease and desists and radio silence. And yet, despite it all, Melee continued to thrive. It wasn't until recently in November 2021, Nintendo officially backed the Smash Bros. Pro Tour for 2022, and even that is going to be run by a third party, Panda Global. So, what is the right level of developer support when it comes to esports? Is it needed, or are esports better off in the hands of the people? Super Smash Bros. Melee was released in November of 2001, and in its wake, a grassroots competitive community that Nintendo largely overlooked came to life. In 2010 though, they could no longer be ignored. The 2010 MLG Orlando tournament was planning to livestream Super Smash Bros. Brawl, but were unable to obtain the streaming or VOD rights from Nintendo. MLG had to cancel the stream, and the only way to see the tournament was in person. MLG Orlando was the first of many similar incidents with Nintendo that plagued the competitive Smash scene over the next decade. Melee bore the brunt of Nintendo's ire since the community started with, and largely preferred, Melee due to the game changes Nintendo had made with Brawl. For example, in 2013, EVO held a charity event in which the game with the most funds raised would earn the 8th main spot at EVO that year. Melee fans raised $94,000, bringing Melee back to the EVO stage for the first time since its singular appearance in 2007. Nintendo stepped in and tried to shut down the Melee portion of the EVO event. It was only after intense public backlash that their protest was withdrawn, allowing EVO 2013 to play and stream Melee. Since then, the grassroots community have kept Melee alive at small and major tournaments alike. However, without Nintendo's backing, these competitions offered little in terms of prize pools, making the life of a Melee pro a difficult path.
I've been yelling at people in my chat for an hour, being like, fuck Nintendo. I'm like, guys, do you not understand? Like, I'm sure you remember when I sub-gold food 2 years ago.
Yeah.
This makes it so that someone in my position from 2 years ago doesn't have to do that.
These small prize pools were, and still are, just one hurdle the Melee community has had to face in its esports journey. However, those same small tournaments often brought in viewership that rivaled developer-backed scenes. Furthermore, Nintendo continued to block improvements to the Melee scene that the community created. For example, in early 2020 when the pandemic hit the world, Busy created Project Slippy, which allowed tournaments to function online through netcode implementation. When tournaments like the November 2020 Big House announced that they would use Project Slippy, Nintendo stepped in. They said it amounted to piracy and intellectual property theft and needed to shut it down.
A big question for a lot of Melee players is the fact that like the biggest developments we've had in the past couple of years have been fan projects, fan mods, like Slippy. I mean, I think Melee dies in the pandemic. Melee dies in 2020 in a world without Slippy. That's just the case. That's just the case.
Then, in November 2021, Panda Global announced their official Nintendo-partnered Smash series, and two schools of thought emerged. On one hand, passions have been reignited among players like Hungrybox.
This, to me, I guess as the person who was previously rank 1, is enough to light like the fire under my ass to actually fall in love with the game again and become the best player in the world again.
But others look at Nintendo's adversarial history with the Melee scene and remain doubtful as to how much the partnership would improve the current state of Smash Esports.
I feel that over the last decade plus, Nintendo has proven the exact opposite. They themselves, not Panda Global, that Nintendo themselves do not have the best interests of the competitive Smash community at heart.
Nintendo's long history of being more harmful than helpful meant that deep-rooted skepticism around the announcement was valid, and that's made it difficult for the Smash community to trust Nintendo, even though they seem like they're taking the correct steps. It's hard to say what Smash Esports would look like if Nintendo had chosen to support it instead of suppressing it over the last decade, and only time will tell how the official Smash circuit will pan out. If you want to learn more about Nintendo and Smash, check out our full-length video that's linked in the description. So we've seen what happens when a developer doesn't support the esports scene, or actively works against it, but what happens when the support is initially there, but then just kind of puts it on the back burner? For that, we head over to Epic Games and their poster child, Fortnite. In 2019, the Fortnite World Cup averaged a spectacular 1.1 million viewers with a peak of 2.3 million people over the 19 hours it was broadcast, launching into the Tier 1 esport category. For reference, the International 2019 had an average of 738,000 viewers with a peak of nearly 2 million over the 120 hours it was broadcast. Fortnite esports were popular, teams were investing, talent was investing, and the runway looked clear for the success of Fortnite esports in 2020. However, as we all know, Fortnite esports in 2020 looked a lot different as Epic Games throttled down hard on their support, a move that made many talent and pros like saw him leave. When he retired from Fortnite, he told ESPN, "Valorant is the next gaming titan and will have the most saturated and diverse pool of talent we'll have ever seen. I know Riot will crush it and have a stable competitive scene. I want to be a part of that and be at the top of yet another game and genre." Valorant may have been one reason successful pros like Psalm were leaving Fortnite esports, but it wasn't the only one. The Fortnite World Cup boasted a $30 million prize pool, but the 2020 prize pool for the entire competitive year dropped from $100 million to a paltry $17 million. Then there was the total cancellation of the Fortnite World Cup in both 2020 and 2021, as Epic decided it wasn't worth the trouble of coordinating the event in a pandemic or the revenue it would bring in. Who could blame them? The logistics of Fortnite esports are a nightmare, and it wasn't going to change, pandemic or not. Whereas most competitive games only have a handful of players split between two teams, Fortnite has to deal with 100 players in a single lobby. The sheer number of players means problems like lag for online events, coordination, competitive integrity, and tech checks are all multiplied.
I think a lot of pros, even the ones who do well, are kind of fed up because there's just a lot that goes wrong in every tournament in terms of like points, in terms of, you know, glitches or teaming or whatever.
Lagging out. I mean, Valorant is going to be, and like, it's just going to be policed so much better. Like, I guarantee you they're going to have top of the line anti-cheat. Like,
that sentiment is very similar to how Dota 2's scene has panned out over the years due to the lack of Valve's involvement. And this all goes back to what Psalm said. I know Riot will crush it and have a stable competitive scene. A stable competitive scene. Those 4 words are indicative of how Fortnite pros feel about Fortnite esports. The prize pools plummeting from the previous year, the lack of premier level events, and things like bugs that can seriously affect gameplay have caused an exodus of players and talent, like Tfue, who were frustrated at the game's state.
I don't know.
No? You don't heard this song?
Maybe. I'd have to listen to it. Dude, this game is trash, dude.
Or Zate being tired of grinding in the smaller prize pools, prompting World Cup champion Booga to tweet, "Seeing one of the best Fortnite players quit the game is pretty weird. If changes aren't made soon, many others will most likely follow down the same path. Best of luck to your future, Zate." Or popular streamers and players like Ninja and Nick Merckx moving on to other games as Fortnite became less fun and other games took their place. A lot of the attitude of streamers and pros leaving may be due to the fact of how Epic has shifted their view of Fortnite. The Apple lawsuit revealed that Epic has made less money than anticipated from Fortnite Esports. Pair that with the massive marketing tool that Fortnite is, as evidenced by the endless stream of crossovers, events, and premieres, and it's no wonder that Epic has put Fortnite Esports on the back burner. They know they can make more money with less effort with partnerships through Marvel, Star Wars, and whatever new flavor of the week it is for less investment and a greater return than their esports scene. Because of this dramatic shift in attitude and the lack of premier events for Fortnite Esports, interest and viewership have waned from its zenith in 2019, with more recent events like Twitch rivals GlitchCon 2020 being shorter, having lower peak viewers, average viewers, broadcast time, and even hours watched. Fortnite Esports is by no means going anywhere soon, with Epic still putting in tens of millions of dollars each year for the Fortnite Championship Series and Cash Cups. But without premier events like the Fortnite World Cup and the Pro-Am, in person or not, the esport will be on a decline until it levels out into the Tier 2 or possibly even Tier 3 category, instead of residing in the Tier 1 category, where it started. It's no wonder other Battle Royale titles like Apex Legends, PUBG, and Call of Duty Warzone, mobile versions included, are eating away at Fortnite's market share. Finally, let's look at Brawlhalla, which is a great example, like Riot Games, of how developer support can elevate a games esport. Brawlhalla is a free-to-play 2D platform fighting game that has been an esport since 2016. As the developers themselves say, Brawlhalla Esports is a community-focused, developer-supported competitive scene. Their support of the Brawlhalla esports scene has driven it to be one of the most popular fighting games on Steam, with its number of concurrent users growing each year and far outstripping many of the other popular fighting games in the previous years like Guilty Gear, Street Fighter V, and Tekken 7. Aside from just maintaining a solid casual player base, which is critical for any esport, Brawlhalla Esports had 165,000 peak viewers during the 2020 Brawlhalla Championship, and have more often than not hit more than 50,000 peak viewers for all of their tournaments in 2021. In comparison, the Overwatch League's 2020 Grand Finals between San Francisco Shock and the Seoul Dynasty came in at 183,000 peak viewers. It's obvious that Brawlhalla is getting more bang for its buck. Since the beginning of Brawlhalla Esports in 2016, the studio has awarded more than $1 million in prize pools and will put up $1,320,000 for the 2022 year. While that can't compete with something like the League of Legends $2.2 million World's 2021 prize pool, the even distribution of it throughout the year arguably makes it better than something like the $40 million crowdfunded prize pool for the Dota 2's The International that incentivizes teams and players to only focus on that one tournament. Brawlhalla also supports 5 regions for their esports, which is something Nintendo isn't even doing with Smash. Each of these regions receives a clear outline of the events that will take place throughout the year. While Brawlhalla pros can't quite make it their day job like franchise players of League of Legends or Overwatch, the consistent and clear prize pools allow them to commit their time and skills to an esport that they know won't suddenly disappear like Heroes of the Storm did in 2018 after BlizzCon. In Brawlhalla's case, it's allowed 3-time North America World Champion Stefan "SANDSTORM" Myers to earn $180,000 in prize money and putting him in spot number 21 for top earnings in fighting games. These aspects combined, along with regular game updates, new collaborations, developer streams, and community interactions, have pushed Brawlhalla to become a small but successful esport where many others have floundered or completely failed. We're looking at you, Artifact. Throughout our research, the reoccurring theme has been that developer support is needed in some form or another for an esports scene to be healthy. The more support there is, the better chance there is for stability, both financially and competitively. This can take the form of simply supporting the game with balance patches, handing it off to a third-party production agency like Blizzard has done with their StarCraft 2 scene, or running the esports scene themselves. There are always outliers, like Valve's Artifact, in which both the game and the esport cratered upon release, despite Valve's full support. One might attribute that more to the confusing game design. While we see a competitive scene lose developer support, like Heroes of the Storm did in 2018, the scenes can rapidly die. Fortnite esports certainly seems to be heading that same direction, as the backburner approach has motivated talent and pros to seek out other opportunities in other scenes. When developers actively shut down third-party tournaments, even when they have no intention of running tournaments themselves, the scenes will start to wither until they're a dried-out husk of what they could be. While some scenes like Heroes of the Storm have had some success with grassroots efforts like Heroes Hearth, it's doubtful that the Heroes of the Storm scene can ever return to what it once was without Blizzard's support. The same could be said for Melee. Lucky for us, we get to see how that will pan out for the 2022 competitive year, and if that developer support brings the stability the scene deserves.